Okay, so this is my video response for Brian Baker, who works for the First User, which is a product testing place that gets ideas, either startup companies or existing companies, and he just finds out what the market or where the market is, where the market stands for this sort of product, what's the best way to release it to the market, where geographically would be the best place. I decided to do my video response on him because I have a personal interest in entrepreneurship and figuring out markets and figuring out where to go. So when I do decide to start a company, I'll have a general idea of how to get in the psychology of the people I'm selling to. So I thought he was very interesting. It was more sales based than I thought it was going to be. So I mean, relating it to a class that talks mainly about technology is kind of hard, but I definitely got some correlation between the class and what he was talking about. I mean, I also went to the Michelle Quaid, who's the Google lady, and I feel like I would have had more relation to the class with her, where I could talk about the internet and privacy and the digital divide and whatnot. But it's just my interest of entrepreneurship that made me want to do my video response for Brian Baker. So as I was saying, there is some correlation between the class and what he was talking about. Some of the sections that I found that highly correlated was the technological determinism section. I mean, their whole job is to find out the trends in technology and where it's going to be in the future. So smaller, better, faster, blah blah blah, and he just finds out what's the next step for everyone's thinking. So when people come to him for products, he can have the best guess of where it's going to go. And another big thing they do is he figures out because we talked about how our reality is crafted by what media is saying, and so he finds out what the people want and what the people are thinking. So when he makes commercials for companies, or when he makes advertisements for companies, that he will have. I mean, once again, it goes back to the psychology of the product itself. And another big correlation that I found was the digital art section. We talked about what art is, and I think it's interesting to think about how art can be so broad. But and you could argue that the products that Brian receives and tests are art, but it's he takes those pieces of art and he turns them into what can be profitable art, which I think is a big distinction in art and selling. So, and then also one thing that I found was interesting was the whole John. Sorry, one sec. I have to do shit. Sorry. I just want to get this. Yes. 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 All right, my roommates. I apologize. Anyway, so John Balderassi said was talking about how there's a wrong way to do photography, and there's a whole backlash on that because really, what is the right way to do photography? And I think that's true because there's no set path for businesses to go down to ensure it'll be profitable and successful. But I really enjoy how and I think it's interesting, and I want to get into the field of how Brian can say, all right, here's from 25 years of experience, here's how to what kind of path to go down to. So is there a right way to make a business? No, but does he have a pretty good idea? Yes. And the last section that I'm going to talk about, which I think has the biggest or the strongest correlation in the course, is the data visualization section. The first user is let me see if I can get this word, phenomenological mindset, where they study the structures of experience and relations, which I know that's the definition, but that's really their whole end game. And info visualization is a big piece of their business. I mean, they wouldn't have a business without that, where they take, I mean, for example, something they did was Amazon came to them and said, hey, we have a lot of shopping cart abandonment, which is people who say they're going to buy a product but then don't actually, and they click the checkout but they don't actually put in the credit card. And after testing, they found out that it was hard to, things were kind of jumbled together, and no one remembers their username and password for Amazon. So the first user found that out after a whole bunch of into the wild testing, as they call it, and they found out that since no one knew their username and password, that they should just do a checkout as guest, and now eBay and Amazon have checkout as guest. So I think that's pretty interesting. Let's see. Their data is primary because they don't just look at what already exists, because already existing information is old information. Even by a couple days, things can change. So, I mean, all these things, they'll have, their big thing is 5 minutes for $5, where you will go to a stranger. I mean, they say they're on Pearl all the time. And the reason why I know all this is because I've set up with a bunch of meetings with them, because I'm really interested in fact, I have an interview on Thursday, which is exciting. But anyway, so they will go on Pearl and say, all right, here's this app. What do you think of it? And they'll say, here's this app. Request a friend, and or whatever. And someone who's never used the app because it's on the market will go and try to work through it and go, I don't know how to use this thing. This is really confusing. And they'll take data like that and put it all together. Well, all right. Well, that's what I got for the video response of Brian Baker of the first user. All right.